So we are back in Costa Rica for the 22nd annual Barkan Method Hot Yoga Teacher Training Program and Yoga Retreat. And we want to take advantage of our environment and do some hot yoga tutorials for you. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, hit the like button if you're enjoying this video. Any comments, put them down below. I get to all the comments. So arm balancing poses. We do them more in the advanced class. So we're going to tutorial 3 poses: crow, crane, and frog pose, or our version of frog pose. Now, frog pose is not an arm balancing, but it's similar to crane in that it's shoulder flexibility. You got to learn how to get your shoulders underneath your legs. It's an incredible range of motion that we're going to explore in this tutorial. Now, in other styles of yoga, they call the crow pose Bakasana. But the baka is the crane. So I weirdly never understood why they do that, because in our style of yoga, we call crow pose in Sanskrit Kakasana. So what we call Bakasana is crane pose, because like I said before, baka is the crane. So our version of Bakasana is completely different. Once again, it's a different style of yoga. I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. It's a different interpretation, same posture, different name. Now, the third pose in this particular tutorial is Mandukasana, or frog pose. So let's head over to the studio with Barkan Teacher Lana Vogestad, and we're going to explore these 3 poses. So here we are with one of the most senior Barkan teachers in the world, Lana Vogestad. And we're going to do Kakasana, crow pose. So she's going to place her hands on the mat. And in our style of yoga, we bring the knees on the inside of the biceps, not the outside. It's a little different. We're stacking the body a little bit differently. So the knee comes in the inside of the right bicep, the left bicep, and she shifts her weight forward, brings one foot off the ground first, and then the other foot comes up. As she shifts her weight, she finds her balance within the weight of her knee to the bicep. She lifts her chin, she lifts her feet, at the same time shifting the weight forward into the front part of the mat, holding the core, and at the end of the pose, she can shift back into low plank. So pardon the interruption, but as I was editing this video, I remembered there's another ultra advanced version. Instead of jumping back from crow to low plank, you can come forward and press into a handstand. So here's a clip, 1985, could have been 1986. Bikram's at my studio in Fort Lauderdale, and he would come every year for years, and he would teach classes and do lectures, but sometimes he would teach my top students and myself the advanced class. So here's a clip from the advanced class, Bikram teaching us the pose, and you can see I'm coming forward and pressing to a handstand, but watch how I stack the hips over the shoulders.
Eventually, remember, you have to lock your elbow.
Weight comes forward to stack the hips over the shoulders, and then you're able to come straight up to a vertical position.
That's looks like high school boy.
And there it is. So the next posture in the sequence is what we call Bakasana, which is crane pose. So the first thing we want to do is soften the IT bands in the sides of the hips. So Lana's going to squat down, which is going to soften those hips and IT bands, get a good warm up, because we need to get that flexibility and that range of motion. The first thing she's going to do is not grab the ankle. She's going to grab the inside. She's going to get her arm into the inside and the calf muscle as she goes on the toes of her right foot. And all she's doing now is getting and working in that shoulder all the way underneath the leg. Work the shoulder, work the shoulder. Now she drops the right heel to the ground and grabs the left calf muscle and works that shoulder. So many of you, if you're just trying this for the first time, you're just going to be working those shoulders, getting them underneath the legs as much as possible. Now, we've got to position the feet properly. You've got to have your feet shoulder width apart, because if you have your feet too close together, you're not going to be able to get your shoulders through. And if you have your legs too far apart, which is the tendency, you're not going to be successful in this pose. So hip width or shoulder width apart, then you'll be able to work that shoulder underneath the leg, which is the key concept in this pose. You've got to get the shoulders underneath. Now, we don't bring our hands in front. We're going to bring our thumbs to the front of the mat and the fingers to the back of the mat, so you're on the webbing of your index and thumb finger. So you're pressing it to the ground. And then all Lana's going to do is sit on the shelf of her bicep as she lifts her legs. She's going to lift her hips simultaneously, but the main thing is to get those hips up. The hips come up to keep this balance of the legs and the hips, and eventually straightens her arms into the full position. So the third pose we're going to show you today is also another advanced pose called Mandukasana, or our version of frog pose. And very similar to the last pose we did, very similar to crane, it's all about the shoulders. You got to get the shoulders underneath your legs. It's amazing to see how much shoulder flexibility is demanded in the advanced practice. So she's going to once again grab her calf muscles, not the ankles. You won't be able to get the shoulder underneath the leg unless you grab the calf muscle. So she's going to work the calf muscle, then the other side, work the calf muscle to get the legs over her shoulders. And now the hands are flat behind her, the feet are flexed, chin is up, and as she pushes on the ground, the heels come up, the hips come up, the chin comes up, and if you push really hard, you can actually float all the way to the ceiling. Just kidding. But here it is, Bandukasana, and a beautiful demonstration by Lana, frog pose. So that's our episode for today. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Hit the like button. Any comments, put them down below. I get to all the comments. So I have to go back to my yoga retreat and teacher training program, but I'll see you at the next video, or maybe I'll see you next year in Costa Rica. Bye, guys.